Welcome back to Walking the London Road. Oxford United had a two-game week and lost both games. Unfortunately, Will's prediction of unbeaten going into the international break didn't come to pass. Folks, this is going to be a very different episode than the ones we've done previously this campaign because there's an awful lot to talk about and not a lot of time to do it. Gents, before we get into the disaster classes that we saw on Tuesday night and Saturday, at least we've got 2 weeks away from Oxford United coming up, Connor.
Yeah, but we've got 2 weeks of watching England, if that's what you indulge yourself in.
You're telling me you're not
It's not a win-win.
Albania.
It's not a win-win, is it?
It's 2 weeks of watching England and 2 weeks of potentially seeing Mark Harris up front again for Wales. So it's yeah,
I think Wales fans might write if Kiefer Moore starts behind Mark Harris for Craig Bellamy's side, given that I think he's got a pretty decent record on Sparky. Barely got on the pitch on Saturday.
Rather watch Tommy T-ball, see what you can do.
Right, let's get into this. Before we have a collective meltdown, I'm sure that Stoke and West Brom fans and also Scum and Ding fans, any other opposition fans will be tuning and will thoroughly enjoy this one. Be sure to like, comment and subscribe. It really helps out in the algorithms, guys. And like we saw last week, leave your comments below. This is an opinion show. It's what it's all about, is getting your opinions, getting the opinions of Oxford United fans on the football club we all love. Well, maybe a little bit less after the week we just had.
I think it's more of a love-hate relationship, I'll be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I've said many times that the stress of watching this football club means I'm going to be leaving this earth a couple years later than I would have expected. Just because my heart can't take it that much. Right, Connor, let's start with Stoke. Obviously, we got outplayed. They're a very, very good side, top end of the table, all that kind of thing. And you know, obviously, two of their goals come from really, really good breaks where they cut us apart, and it's a really unfortunate kind of double deflection. But we were thoroughly outclassed in that game. I mean, we could have been a very different story, couldn't it? We could have been 1-0 up if Greg Lee had put that ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, if Greg Lee put the ball in the back of the net, I think the first 5 minutes is what encapsulated Oxford United's season, and then about 10 minutes after I think Stoke scored their second, the fact that we could create opportunities and we do have chances, we're just not taking them. That's what it is. And as you say, Stoke, they're one of the best teams I've seen since Oxford have been in the Championship in terms of how they play in transitions and in change of possession. Just how they impressed me so much, just how fast and direct that they were. You know, in the change of possession. That's where the majority of where their play came from, and just such poor defending for Nzonzi's goal. Nzonzi, by the way, nice little fact for anybody that's listening, is the first World Cup winner to score in the Championship.
And also his first goal in 10 years.
Yeah.
Of course it was us. And I would have to say, he properly stuck it in my face, because literally half a second before he put the ball in the back of the net, I was shouting away. So, you know, cheers Nzonzi, cheers lad. Well, like we said, Stoke are obviously a very good footballing side. They, like you and I mentioned last week, they seem to be finally getting their shit together after years and years of mediocrity in the Championship. But it's not like we weren't the creators of our own downfall in that game. I thought, particularly like Connor said on Nzonzi's goal, Will Lancashire just let Nzonzi drift on into the 6-yard box and head it past Jamie Cumming. For the third goal, I can't remember which Stoke player it was, but he's got so much space. He's found the gap between the centre backs and the centre mids, and just no one's picking him up. It's a lack of concentration in those moments from Oxford players, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we played similar to how we did against Millwall, except the difference was we didn't have Lock on our side. We didn't have any rockets from Brannigan or Plaheta to sort of rescue us a point. And like Stoke were brilliant. They completely outplayed us, and it's very clear why they're so far up in the table. But like you said, it's just like individual errors by Oxford players, not marking, not winning the second balls, not being as on it as Stoke were. That just sort of led to our downfall in that game. And we really really got punished. I think we're actually quite fortunate there was only 3-0 because it could have been a heck of a lot worse.
Yeah.
Lewis Baker had Hellick, Volks, and Brown on absolute strings throughout that game, mate.
He did, didn't he?
Absolute strings.
Yeah.
Infuriating. Because, like I said, it's not like we didn't have the chances. If we had 16 shots, only one of those shots on target, which I think is the big embarrassing aspect of that performance. Missed two big chances. Those are Greg Lee and I think Shemi Poheta has an opportunity that could have gone in the back of the net, but they have four big chances and put two in the back of the net. So, like both said, they could have been well clear by that point. Obviously, Rowett mentioned after the game that his time at Stoke was the worst time of his footballing career. So, like with Millwall, the Stoke fans were taunting Rowett with "your football is shit." But it's starting to turn because both on Tuesday night and on Saturday, some of those are starting to come from the Oxford end, Connor.
Yeah, I haven't been in the crowd where that's all heard anywhere, where I sit anyway, where that's starting to seep out in the stands on social media. Although you shouldn't really take much from social media and what the voices are, it's deafening. And from my perspective anyway, it looks like that it's a minority, but the minority is sounding like the majority at this stage. I'm not sure how you feel, Sam. I think I have an idea of how Will is feeling towards Mr. Gary Rowett, but I said online yesterday, I personally don't agree with Rowett out, but I can see why fans are turning that way and why it seems to be snowballing.
Will, give us your stance, because Connor and I had a chat back and forth yesterday after the game, and we think we're on the same page. So I want to kind of see where you stand on this.
Yeah, I'm sort of on the same page. Like, I think like the Gary Rowett, your football is shit, was starting to go around the away end, but also so was Gary Rowett's Yellow Army, especially at full time. So I guess that's something. And I do agree with Connor that sort of like I think it is still a minority of fans who want Gary Rowett to be removed, and it's usually it seems to be the same voices who have been calling for him to be removed sort of consistently throughout the season, but they're just sort of the loudest voices online at the moment. I'm by no means pleased or satisfied with the way that we're playing, or the performances that we're putting in, or the results that we're getting, but I still am not yet in the Gary Rowett out sort of corner. We're still above the relegation zone. Last 5 games, if I'm remembering right, a win and a draw. It's not great form, but it's not exactly like sacking form either. But it has to improve quickly, or else I'm sort of going to be drifting further and further towards that camp. Like for me, I think that the international break, he has to come out swinging after that international break, especially the Norwich game. We have that for me is a must-win game. Maybe then my opinion will change, but for now, I think I'm the same as you guys. I'm not happy, but I don't want to like throw it all away just yet.
Definitely. So a bit more talk on Gary Rowett in a second. I want to quickly run over what happened in the West Brom game. Whereas with Stoke, it was understandable. They're obviously a very good team at the top of the division. West Brom have struggled recently, obviously. A lot of West Brom fans saying that their win yesterday has saved Ryan Mason's job. So, well done, lads. Another manager you've saved there. And, obviously, I think West Brom are another side, compared to a couple that we've played this campaign, that they've obviously got some very, very good players. Josh Madger obviously was on a freakish goal run. I think it was last campaign. I think it's Price obviously stepped up into the shoes. Is it Fellows, Connor, that went to Southampton?
Yeah.
Yeah. They've got Micah Johnston, who's also very, very, he's got some very decent attributes to him. Moat, we know all about Alex Moat. So they've got some very good players. They've just been underperforming under a new manager. But they created a fair amount, but we were also relatively decent, I thought, in the defensive third. Brannigan also has a couple of opportunities. I've not been able to see back the couple of penalty shouts that, as you know, as football fans, anytime a player goes down in the box, you try and claim for a spot kick. Will, do you think there's any, we've got any justifiable shout for one in that game?
Yeah, maybe the one where Lancashire sort of pulled down, but I would sort of also suspect that if that was given against us, we would feel hard done by. But I also think it's a moot point. It's not really worth talking about. We could have had that penalty. I think we still would have lost the game because we were just dreadful. So, like, if it was a really close game, I know the scoreline was close, but if like the game itself was very, very close, and we were inches away from getting a draw, then yeah, I think we'd be talking about it more. But like, I honestly don't think it's worth talking about because it probably wouldn't have had much of an impact in the grand scheme of things. A bit like how if Greg Lee had put that goal in against Stoke, I still think we would have gone on to lose 3-1. So I just don't think it's that important.
I mean, the Mills one where it's one of those kind of, play 6 to lag out. We're all shouting, go down, stand, because, like you say, would have been a bit of a robbery. In that game, West Brom had 26% of the ball across the 90 minutes, 26 shots, 6 on target, and scored one of their big chances. For XG of 1.61, we had a 0.95 XG. So, like I say, they absolutely dominated. If you look on whatever stats app you want to use, the range of where their shots come from is absolutely mad. But at least Lancashire got to score on the patch where he wasn't given an opportunity last campaign, Connor.
Yeah, that's always nice. Lancashire, he's a good player, and I kind of feel sorry for him at the moment because you can see the quality that he has and that he can stick a ball away when he has delivery, and he's not getting that, and it's sickening. That's a big word, but it is sickening knowing that if we can have somebody that can deliver a ball into the box consistently, and Lancashire can be in the right place at the right time, that he can stick a ball away. Albeit, I would have expected him to put it in 6 yards out. With regards to penalties, I would also say, lads, this is Oxford United. Whenever we finally get given a penalty, that it's either being blazed over the bar or that it's being saved. We're all agreed on that, right? It's just pure Oxford United.
That would be very, very Oxford, but I will say that, look, we've got Brannigan and De Kersmaker, who are two of the most clinical penalty takers, over the last couple of years for their respective sides. That's the one aspect where I do trust this side to put the ball in the back of the net from 6 yards out.
Yeah. From set pieces, generally speaking, as well. Speaking.
Yeah, that's unless it's in the last minute and some, I will say our long throws yesterday were diabolical. Cabelli hit the first man.
And the corners, like none of the corners being the first man, all the corners just being headed straight away.
Yeah,
come on, especially in that the added time as well. Anyway,
it's just such simple stuff in it.
Yeah,
infuriating. So that was the two games. Like we said, just kind of get the overall of those two matches out of the way because we need to get back onto this man, Gary Rowett. Like we mentioned yesterday, there were loud chants, like you said, Will, of Rowett, your football is shit, met with Rowett's Yellow Army chants. It's starting to turn. It's already started on Twitter, but as we often have to remind ourselves, Twitter isn't a real place. People just say things on there for click farming reasons and all that kind of stuff. But I'm in two minds. Like I said, Connor and I discussed this yesterday after the game. That on the one hand, his football is diabolical. As you've mentioned a couple of times, Connor, we knew that when he came in. We were warned by Millwall fans, by Birmingham fans, etc., that this is what we were going to get. It doesn't make it any easier given the quality of players we've got. At the same time, my question is always to the people that want Gary Rowett out and all that kind of thing is, who do you bring in? Because realistically, although I don't think we're the smallest team in the division, I think to managers, as a prospect to come in and take over, I think we are the least attractive club other than Sheffield Wednesday, who are in administration.
Sorry, Sam, you cut out there. But do you know what? I think even at the moment, I'd say that Sheffield Wednesday is more attractive than us because there's a prospect of a buy. No, I'm being serious because there's a prospect of a buyer. There's lots of interest in there, and even if they do get relegated into League One and say that they're for 2 seasons maximum, you have so much more resources and you have so much more capital that you can use at a club like Sheffield Wednesday compared to us. And you're absolutely right. does my absolute neck in when fans say they want X, Y, and Z out. We had this with Robinson and we had it with Des, and now we're having it with Rowett. And when fans say it's not my job to suggest who another manager should be that should come in because they can come from anywhere. But you're going to be solving one problem by creating another problem. And you're absolutely right. Like when Rowett came in, I don't think that there was a fan who was, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't think there was a fan who wasn't surprised at it because of the level of manager that we were able to attract in Gary Rowett and with his championship experience. I think that when Rowett came in, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of fans, if he was said to us, would have, when we got over the sacking of Des, would have taken him in an absolute heartbeat because we knew his championship pedigree and his experience and what he could do at that level. And we all said to ourselves then, when we were in trouble, that yes, it's going to be hard and it's going to be a difficult watch. And it wasn't really to start off with, but now I think this is a time when we actually do have to strap ourselves in and say, yes, it is a very difficult watch. Sorry if I'm going on here, but I think for the fan base, I think, what would you rather be? Would you rather be playing nice, pretty, attacking, tippy-tappy football, but in League One and maybe like challenging for a playoff spot, or having to go through this and still being in the Championship, being in one of the most exciting, and it is one of the best leagues in the world, coming up against some great managers and some great stadiums? It's going to be absolutely horrid. It's don't get me wrong, it's absolutely honking, but we've got to take some self-reflection and self-reflexivity and understand who we are as a club and the absolute massive ocean that we're in.
Will, if you want to kind of jump in on that, because there is a point I want to make back to Connor on that, but if you want to go first, Will.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll just say that I think like last season, fans were almost more accepting of the fact that we're going to have to go through some pretty diabolical football to stay in the Championship. I think because of the position that we were in when Des Buckingham was sacked and when Gary Rowett was brought in. Whereas now that it's a new season and we're all hopeful and we all want to improve on what we did last season, I think people are sort of expecting more. And so they're sort of like less accepting of the fact that in order for us to stay up with Gary Rowett as our manager and with the players that we have, it's like nothing's going to change in his playing style, if that makes sense. Like, what I'm trying to get is that people are less accepting of the fact that we're going to have to play some shit football to stay in this league. They somehow like, it's a bit like what I spoke about like a couple of weeks ago, like people are flying off the handle too quickly. People somehow expect us to be mid-table or higher than that, or like they get annoyed when we're like when we're losing to like teams that are like much higher up the table. Because somehow they expect more. So I think I sort of like echo Connor's point in that like we sort of need some self-reflection on what we want to be as a football club. Because if it was up to me, I would much rather stay in the Championship no matter how bad the football is. Because I don't want to do Burton Albion away, I don't want to do Wickham away, and I don't want to be playing Swindon or Reading on a Tuesday night. I want to stay in this league no matter how bad the football is. So quite frankly, like I'll take it. But then again, like I'm not saying people are being unreasonable, being unhappy. The football is absolutely shit, but like I think last season we sort of accepted that more, and this season we seem to have just sort of we seem to be expecting more than what I think this club can offer, basically.
So there's a couple of points I want to go back to lads on that. The first one is about I think for me it's well, you mentioned about kind of getting frustrated about losing to sides higher up the division. It's not that for me. I can accept that. It's more about the players, because we do have to direct the fact that these players, when they step over the white line, they are implementing what Gary Rowett desires from them from a tactical point of view, but from a simple personal point of view, they can do so much better. We've seen how good Brian de Kersmacher, how good Prelic, Lancashire, Brannigan, Greg Lee, you go through the entire squad. We've seen how good they compete. They've shown they can compete in this division. So when they look so off it, when their standards or the quality of their performance, I should say, drop, that's when I get frustrated. Because, yes, the style of play is up to the manager, but the effort, not tracking back, that's on the players. Not making runs in the area when you've got a teammate like Stan Mills who's made a fantastic run down the right hand side. There's no one making a run into the area to give an option. It infuriates the hell out of me. Now on the Connor, your point of would you rather play tippy tappy football or have shit football in the Championship. I think that's a bit of a false choice, because we've done both. We had the nice passing football under Des Buckingham at the start, and it worked. We've had the this shit defense first mentality under Rowett, and it's worked. So, it's tricky, because you're right. There is certainly an amount of our expectations that do need to be cooled at the fact that, I think I've said on previous episodes that this season, again, my expectation and my desire was stay in the division, and then we look to build. I'm not expecting us to finish, at the top half, but it's you lads, we've spoke about it time and time again about it's just the frustration kind of in the moment and in the days afterwards. Just we've seen how good this team can play. We've seen how good Gary Rowett's team can play. And it's just the fact that the lack of consistency is the most annoying thing, both individuals and the overall squad.
I think to go back to you, with Des, it worked until it didn't. And with Rowett, I guess the same again. It's worked until it hasn't. Yeah, and a lot of the time, like, he can give instructions as to what he wants the players to do in the tactical setup, and you're right, that once the players step over the white line, it's up to them. And didn't go to West Brom, but you can see, like against Stoke, and even before that at Wrexham, players not as you say, not tracking back, not going for second balls. Doesn't look like that they're putting in the effort. And at that point, you can't really point the finger at the manager. A little bit, you can point at him maybe a little bit, because he's responsible for the players, but it's up to them once they go over the line. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure how much you want to bring our recruitment team into this as well, and if it's even worth discussing, because the two are symbiotic and they go hand in hand. That this is what Rowett's been given to work with. It probably is by far his weakest squad that he's had to work with, and he's having to adjust to ways that you think that he can combat the Championship this season. And you know what's even more infuriating? It's frustrating. At the start of the season, I think a lot of us around the Championship thought this Championship is looking a lot harder than last season because of the clubs that came up and the clubs that came down. But it's proven to be that it's the opposite. It's not. In fact, I'd argue that it's probably weaker than last season, like a lot weaker. And we haven't capitalised on it when we've had a good opportunity to. At the start of the season, Sam, I throw my hands up and myself admit that I got a bit ahead of myself and thought, do you know what, I reckon we can get. No, I didn't think that we could get top half, but I thought, do you know what, maybe we can get like 14th, 15th, and we can surprise a few more. Like that's generally what I thought that we could do, because of, at times last season when we were going on five winning game runs, that we were able to stick the ball in back of net and play pretty football. And with some of the additions that we made, like De Keersmaker, thinking, okay, we found someone who might be able to drag us up the league, but it's just turned out to be anything but.
I mean, Sam, I'll just add to the point that you made about the players not putting in the effort. It's actually been like quite a consistent theme of the last few weeks. Like, just the effort just seems to have dwindled. Definitely, like the players have sort of lost the fight in them. Like you said, not going for second balls, like just simple things, poor touches, passes not finding like their place. I think what was it Millwall? The pass rate was something like 65% or something like that. Which is
it's been kind of
Championship football.
Low 70s, 60s for the last couple of games in a row.
And also individual choices made by the players, like for West Brom for the last 10, 15 minutes. Why are we always giving long balls to Dembele, who is about 5 foot something, and not giving them to Stan Mills? He's obviously not going to win them. Why is it whenever players make runs like up the pitch, there's nobody in the box? Why is it like we don't play with any like attacking intent? And I know that's partly down to the manager and how he set them up, but it's also down to the players and making the effort and actually like creating options and creating space, so that the ball can be played to them. And also like choices made by the manager against West Brom, like when we like went a goal up, he wanted to bring Will Vauxhall and Luke Harris on, well, we go goal down. Why are we waiting 5 minutes to bring them on and still bring on the same players with the same tactics? Like Blaheta as well. Like for 70 minutes against West Bromwich Albion, they kept going down the left-hand side, and Blaheta had no way of dealing with it. So why is nobody else coming over to help him out? So I think, yes, the manager is definitely at fault, but I completely agree with what you're saying, that the choices and the effort being made by the players also needs to be scrutinised, because in the last few weeks especially, like, it's sort of become a lot more noticeable that like it just, like something just isn't there anymore. Like they've lost a bit of that fight and they're just not making the right choices like consistently game after game after game, and that's definitely contributing to us losing week after week after week.
Can I also pick up on players not learning from their mistakes?
Yeah.
I never thought while being an Oxford fan, that I would get nervous every time now I see Cameron Brannigan turn around and looking to play back to the goalkeeper. 3 times he's done it this season, and 2 have led to goals and 1 have led to an indirect free kick inside the box. Also, we haven't mentioned him so far, and we need to. Jamie Cumming is pissing me off. 3 games in a row, he's made the exact same save, and he hasn't learned from any of them, and it's led to us conceding 3 goals.
Yeah,
I can speak easy. Like, it's probably easy for me to say, and he'll come on here and give me a good schooling, but it looks like that they're all easy saves to make if you hold on to the ball.
Yeah,
and each time it's been deflected either into a path of an opposition player, or it's been deflected into Greg Lee and goes into the back of the net. Like, it pisses me off, man, that a lot of these players aren't learning from their mistakes.
The other part of, of Jamie Cumming that kind of does frustrate the hell out of me, and you're right, we've given Jamie a lot of leeway because he's been, there's only so much he can do as a goalkeeper, when the defence let him down, or the midfield in front of him let him down, and all that kind of stuff. But his distribution, his long distribution is appalling. Short distribution to his centre-backs to the full-backs, he's pretty good. I know there was a lot of concern around me. I think it was against Millwall. Was that against Stoke? I can't remember. Where he dinks it over the Stoke attacker into the path of Kieran Brown. That, he's really good at that because he seems to have that calmness when in possession. But I'd say his accuracy on his long balls is maybe 40%.
I seem to remember that when he first started here, we were getting Elliot Moore to take some of the goal kicks. Yeah. They clearly didn't trust him to find a player. And you say short distribution is good, but like that's just a simple pass. Surely, like if I was a goalkeeper, my short distribution would be good. You know what I mean? So it's not much to shout about. I mean, then again, like Connor said, I'm sure he could come on here and give me a good schooling about that. But yeah, his distribution has been good, and like Connor said, he hasn't been learning from mistakes. But then again, he has also been making a heck of a lot of good saves, and he's been keeping scorelines lower than they otherwise would be. So there's definitely things to shout at him about, but there's also things to be pleased with him. So I think it's sort of a bit 50-50.
Oh yeah, I loved him when he's saving against that bloke who plays up front. I can't even say his name because he disgusts me so much for Wrexham, who has a stupid haircut, who played at Reading and Cambridge.
Yeah.
Oxford reject. Oh God. I feel like the thing is, some of these conversations we've been having for the last couple of weeks now, and overall, I think since Rowett has been in the door, across his, I think I did the maths on the way back from West Brom. I think he's had 40 games in charge, 40 league games, I should say, not including the cups. And I think he's got a points per game record of 1.2 points per game, which, if I'm not mistaken, Connor, keeps you in the division. But that obviously includes that really incredible run when he first came into the job, and it's on current form. That's looking like it will drop below the 1 point a game, which you need to, or the 1.2 points a game you need to stay in the division.
Yeah. What was it? It's usually 50 points, right? I'm struggling to see us get over that line at the moment, unfortunately. And especially who we've got coming up after the international break, which I'm I'm sure at some point you want to come on to a side which is bagging form, and another side which has just sacked their manager. Will be the first game, I think, returning at home. So, and then we have Ipswich, which is going to be. I don't see many points being picked up there, lads. I'll be utterly honest with you. So that 1.2, you're right, Sam, could be getting a bit smaller for Mr. Gary Rowett.
And if he loses those 3, that's 5 losses on the spin, and that is when you really start. That's when the majority starts to call for him to go out.
Yeah.
So that's why I say he really has to come out swinging after that international break.
Yeah, definitely.
I think anything, and also I think the players need to rock up the arse, because I think they need to start playing better. I know it's so easy to say, but they just need to. They need to be more on it. They fight for the headers, win the second ball. If you're taking a corner, beat the first man. I learned that when I played in youth clubs in the Sunday League. Okay, beat the first man. It's simple stuff. Make space, make options, play with attacking intent, and also different playing styles. I don't know, just something needs to change. I know what you mean. Like, what can he do? But something needs to change. We need to play with more attacking intent, because I will speak about at the West Brom game. Even during that final, if you look at the momentum chart, it is awful. It is basically all blue, and then past 10 minutes, there's a bit of yellow. Even during that bit of yellow, right, our best chances were 2 long shots by Cam Brannigan. In the first half, our best chance was a long shot by Plaheta and another long shot by Brannigan. We are not finding any ways of being able to create meaningful, like convincing big opportunities by playing it into the box. Like even during that, I'll go back to mental club. Even during that yellow period, West Brom was still creating more convincing opportunities. Because I think it was Jamie Cumming who made a good save, or maybe it was a block. I can't remember. But I don't know. I was going to bring this up a few weeks ago, but it felt like a weird point to make. But it is kind of worrying when you're the only way you have really of scoring is either set pieces or bangers from outside the box. We need to find. I know obviously we scored against West Brom with Lancashire and a cross in, but that was sort of an anomaly. I feel like there has to be more attacking intent, or whenever we go forward, it looks like we don't have a plan. We don't know what we're doing. Teams run at us and they know who we're going to pass to, who we're going to play to. This guy's going to run in there. This guy's running in there. We just don't have that. So I think that's something that has to change. I know it's easier said than done, especially for me. But that for me, the attacking intent definitely has to be addressed, and also the players' attitude.
You're spot on there. Because you're right. I said it after the loss at Wrexham. We could have been playing till the end of the international break against, against no opposition players, and we wouldn't have scored a goal. Because you're right, especially when it gets to that last 10 minutes, we look clueless in attack. Again, I'll come back to something I mentioned earlier. On the long throws, why is the man you're hoping to flick it on, Siriki Dembele, who's 4'8"? Why are you not sacrificing one of your centre-backs in the area? It's how we scored the goal against West Brom last season at the Castad. Elliot Moore flicked it on, and there's Dane Scarlett to nod it home. It seems like such simple stuff. I don't know what our set-piece coach is aiming for from that aspect, but we've said it before. The people in our coaching staff have been in football a lot longer than we all have, but we can see certain recurring issues that the longer they go unsolved, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. The reception those players are getting. I mean, they've been booed off. I think it's 3 or 4 of the last 5 games.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, it's easy for us to see from the stand. I mean, from the West Brom away end, which is a great away end, might I add, is that you could see whenever we had especially in the first half when we were attacking the other end, when one of our players had the ball and they wanted to go forward, there was no options. I was trying to look who could he pass to? Could he pass to? And the only option was backwards, which is why we kept going back to our centre backs and why it kept ending up with Jamie Cumming. And when West Brom were attacking us, they were doing the same thing every time. I know I've already mentioned this, but for 70 minutes, it was always just let's just bomb it down the left hand side because we know Plaheta, is not going to be able to deal with it. And it took him 70 minutes to bring him off, and then they sort of started to vary it up. So yeah, basically just adding to your point that I know that the coaches have been there a lot longer than we have, but from the stands, it's pretty obvious to see what the issues are, and it's pretty worrying that these have been the same issues for weeks now, and they just haven't been addressed. So maybe the international break is sort of a time to sort of reset and then come out fighting, because that's what he has to do, or else it's curtains.
I mean, something you mentioned there, Will, that Connor, want to mention, kind of you to come in on, is that I'm noticing a lot of similarities in the way when we're struggling to break down a side. There's a lot of, okay, play it back to centre backs, play it back to the goalkeeper, try and recycle that possession, try and find another opening, and because we're coming up against very, very well structured defenses, it never works, and there's a lack of problem solvers, which is it's a very it's a very unspecific type of player, but we're lacking that kind of problem solver, and it's a similar thing we faced the end of Dez's time at the club, isn't it?
Yeah, it's you're right. It's as if that the players don't know what to do and they're reverting back to type, and then by doing that they can invite pressure. If a team like Coventry, for example, when they were such high pressers when they came, that's exactly what they were doing. Or it can be, say, for example, a team like Stoke when they're out of possession and how well drilled they are and how well compact they are, that they're ready and waiting to pounce because they know that the level that they're facing in terms of ability and technical decision making is so inferior compared to them that they're waiting for a mistake. And that's what I think that a lot of teams that we play now are going to be waiting for. Like waiting for those mistakes, and they know that they'll be able to either play through us or they're just waiting for a mistake to capitalize on. And believe you me, we all know there's been a fair few this season that a lot of teams have capitalized on. That if we'd have actually had, as you say, Sam, problem solvers or players that have their heads screwed on and they're fully in the game and they don't lose that composure and their anxiety isn't through the roof, it seems, a lot of the time, then some outcomes of games might be a lot different. But I think we're just going to have to accept that in the squad at the moment, it's just not championship. At the moment, they're not performing to the standards that we thought that they could do at championship level.
I want to finish off by making a very quick note on us, on the fans, because obviously, the emotions of losses and the frustration in the way we're losing games has kind of kicked into a certain degree. But there has very much been some elements of our fan base that are very quick to go, oh, no, these players are all shit. Mikhail Helik is, a barely a League One level centre-half. And I understand the frustration, but, I want to send a message that I completely get the frustration. But the players on the pitch, some of these players, Sam Long, Cameron Brannigan, as chief examples, they've been here for a long time. We always know they will run their asses off for us, even when times are bad. Please don't turn on the players. Stick by the squad. Even if Gary Rowett is your least favourite manager in the world, I get it, but what these, Brannigan mentioned it after the Stoke game that he said they were poor. It wasn't up to standard. I'm not saying be happy clappers. I'm not saying that. You're fully within your right to stay after the full time whistle and gesture to the players. What the fuck was that about? But in the game, in the 90 minutes, those players need 100% backing. Please give them it.
Sam, I'd just like to make one more point about the fans. Actually, bring it back to Gary Rowett. Is that he doesn't come over and applaud us.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is this like a regular thing he does? I don't actually seem to remember him doing it at Bristol or doing it at Hull, but I definitely noticed it at West Brom. Like 20 seconds of his time to come over and applaud us because we spend our money to come and follow the club. Like that away was good, by the way. We were singing our hearts out for 90 minutes, even if it was maybe like the same 4 songs on repeat. But still, we had a good turnout, and I feel like we backed the team quite well. And for some of us, we have to book time off work to sort of come and follow the club. So at least take 20 seconds. like out of your day to come and show us that just by giving us a quick applause. Even if he's frustrated, like if he's frustrated, he doesn't know what it was like in the away in Toto. Everyone was 10 times more frustrated. Yeah, give the fans a bit more appreciation. And also, I think that would sort of endear him more to the Spurs. People on Twitter were sort of saying like it feels there isn't really much of a connection between the management and the supporters. I don't know if that is just because there was such a connection between Des and the supporters that whoever came in after him, it was obviously you'd like sort of like notice that was missing.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like sort of like, when I say appreciate the supporters, I know he like often credits us in his like post match interviews, but like just come over and applaud the away end. That's the least we can ask for, basically. I know it's a little point, but I'd say that is quite important, at least for me.
It is something we've spoken about in previous episodes about, like you say, when I first really noticed it was after the Middlesbrough game last season, where we'd obviously made things like 400-mile round trip. I think it was up to the Riverside and back, and he didn't come over and clap us. Like you say, it may sound insignificant, but it's an important building block, and it's all we ask is just come over, especially when we've made 100-mile odd round trips to follow the club. And, I think it was Brannigan maybe, or was it Jack Curry, after the QPR game mentioned about, no, it was Volks, that was it, mentioned about, they acknowledged kind of how much money we're spending to follow the team on a weekly basis. I asked the manager to come and do that because I think, the only time I've ever seen him do it was after we drew 0-0 with Stoke, which was a very weird time for him to come and do it. Connor, any closing thoughts? Can we talk about a lot on this episode?
Closing thoughts. Let me take a think. Yeah, just to echo what you said about the fans, and don't get on the players back for 90 minutes as infuriating as it's going to be, because the run up until Christmas is going to be hard. It's going to be very hard, and it might get a little bit worse. And at some point, unfortunately, I think we are going to fall into the relegation zone at some point. And at that point, let's try and remain calm and not lose our heads. Not sure about you boys, but it's not over until it's mathematically over. And I think that's what we've got. What we're going to have to do, especially with a club like ours at the level that we're at, unfortunately. So until it's mathematically over, taking away if there's a ridiculous goal difference swing, then just get behind the boys as much as you can. We go to some away games before Christmas. I'm excited to put myself through that pain. So the boys.
I mean, to be fair, mate, we're more likely to get points away. Go on, Will.
No, I was just saying I mean, like what Connor was saying, it's not over till it's over. Like we're Oxford United. Anything can happen. Just get behind the team, back the team, sing your heart out for 90 minutes. I've already seen some people on Twitter, maybe they're just lashing out saying, "Oh, I'm not going to go to home games anymore. I'm not going to go to away games." If that's your personal choice, fair enough. But I say back the team no matter what. No matter how shit it is, you always got to support the club because you never know what can happen.
Also, Sam, I don't want to speak on behalf of a lot of other fans, but unless you're down there, I do think that most good Championship fans of other clubs, apart from the ones that are down near the relegation zone, do want to see us stay up. I do think that because of, it's someone new, it's someone different, and it just shows how good the English footballing system is, that there's a club that has 3 stands, gets a maximum 11,500 a week, has probably one of, or if you take away Sheffield Wednesday, probably the smallest budget in the league, and we're managing to fight our way up and compete, or at least try to compete at this level. Yeah, so
I was going to say that we've backed the club in the depths of non-league. We've seen worse days. I'm not going to say that it's for that reason you've got to be grateful the fact we're here, but we've backed the club in worse times. We can stick through for the remaining 31 games. Like you say, it's not over until the 36th game. Will, any closing thoughts?
No, I think I'll just echo what both of you say. Just continue to back the club. Continue complaining about the club. I know we will. But yeah, keep singing your heart out for 90 minutes. That's all we can do as supporters. If we don't, we just make it harder. So, we might as well try and play our part.
Absolutely. Thank you, chaps, for another therapy episode of Walking on the Injuries in the book. Folks, if you've made it to this point of the video, please remember, again, say like, comment, and subscribe. Really helps us out. Leave us your thoughts on where our football club is in the comments down below. We'll be back next week for another international break episode, but we're also going to be previewing the fixture against Middlesbrough. So, just take a couple of days away from Oxford United, maybe delete social media for a couple of days just to kind of give yourself a bit of a break. We'll see you next week.